Good morning, children. Now let us start Unit 2 of this academic year in this semester. The name of the unit is Gulliver Travels. So it is a story about a voyage. Voyage means journey by ship. So it is called a story about a journey. And the narrator of the story is Lemuel Gulliver. He is a doctor by profession. Due to my love for traveling, decided to go on a voyage across the world on a ship called Antelope. While sailing in the South Sea, our ship was wrecked by a terrible storm. Storm means a strong wind. 6 of us survived and tried to sail to safety in a boat which was capsized very soon. Now he was landed on Lilliput Island due to a shipwreck. You can see the Lilliputs means the people around him are called Lilliputs. So he was landed there due to the shipwreck. Then he was very worried about going back to his country, but sometime he could not do what to do. I yelled in astonishment and struggled to free myself. Seeing this, the little creatures cried out, Hekina de Gull. They moved back in fright. The next instant, hundreds of tiny arrows, sharp as needles, hit my body. I was too weak to fight them. Therefore, I thought it wise to lay still and stop struggling. I communicated with him through sign language. As I was hungry, I pointed towards my mouth to make him aware of my need. He was talking to the Lilliputians who were around him. The tiny man turned out to be an envoy. He seemed to understand what I wanted to convey. Immediately, 100 little people were busy placing ladders at my sides and climbing up my body with baskets full of meat, bread, and wine. They dumped all the food into my mouth. After this, a large cart was brought. I was carried to a city-like place which looked like the capital city with the help of 1,500 tiny horses. The Lilliputians had mixed a sleeping potion into the wine which I drank so that I would sleep peacefully while traveling. I was decided by these little people that I would reside in an ancient temple which was the largest building in Lilliput. It was here that all the Lilliputians came to have a glimpse of me. Their emperor stood on the turret of his palace to see me. The Lilliputians were astonished at my huge size. In time, I learned the Lilliputian language and started talking to them. Hence, the Lilliputians were no longer afraid of me. Several days passed and I was getting accustomed to life in Lilliput. One day, when I woke up in the morning, I found the emperor's ministers awaiting me. Good morning. Minister, is everything fine? I asked. The minister seemed quite disturbed. He told me that the inhabitants of the neighboring island of Blefuscudian were preparing to attack them. Gulliver tied a hook to the prow of each ship harbored in the Blefuscudian shore and held the other end of the cords in his hand. With one pull, he dragged all the ships to the Lilliputian coast. He was helping these Lilliputians in their time of trouble. Now, the Gulliver disliked the idea of capturing Blefuscudians. The king of Blefuscudians gave Gulliver a boat to help him to go back to England. He traveled by an English ship. A few days later, I had to escape at night to Blefuscu, where I was well received. My stay at Blefuscu was very brief. The king was very helpful. He granted me freedom and gave me a boat to help me to go back to my country. Later, I traveled to England by an English ship. On reaching England, I set out again on a voyage only to land on an unknown island, wandering all over the island. I reached a large cornfield where the corn plants were 40 feet high. I heard footsteps approaching me. Before I could escape, I was lifted by a farmer who was about 60 feet tall. It was land giants, the Brobdingnags. The giant who had picked me was very amused at my size. I was very scared and pleased for mercy. Please don't eat me up. This seemed to please him. It put me down carefully. In a while, he wrapped me in a handkerchief and carried me to his master, where in turn sold me to the queen of Brobdingnags for 1,000 gold coins. Queen instantly took a fancy for me. I bowed to her to express my gratitude. The 9-year-old daughter of my previous master also stayed with me in the royal palace, as she was my caretaker. The next day, the queen ordered her carpenter to build a box that would be my home. It was furnished with a small bed, table, chairs, cabinets, and a door with a lock. Whenever the queen travelled, my nurse went along with her, carrying me in the box. Life at Brobdingnag was passing rather smoothly. So this is a picture of the box, children, where he is staying in that box, the wooden box that was made specially for him by a carpenter. It was the queen idea of making a box and making him stay in that box. So this is an eagle who is carrying a box along the way. One day my nurse was very ill. The royal page boy carried me in my box to the seashore. So this is an eagle who helped the Gulliver travel to get onto the sea to get back to his country. I was afraid the bird would drop the box on the rocks and it would crash into pieces. Suddenly I felt my box falling, but it did not fall on the rocks. Instead, it landed in the water with a splash and began floating on the sea. As I sat anxiously, I heard voices above the roof of my box. Is anybody there? I asked a voice. I shouted for help, saying, Please take me out of this box or I will die. Soon I felt my box being drawn up. It was the crew of an English ship. I was saved joyfully. I returned to my family in England. Many years passed, but the memory of the Lilliputians and the Brobdingnags remained fresh in my mind. This is a story adapted from Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels. So this is a story about Gulliver Travels, children. Hope you understood the story. If you have any doubts, you can go through the lesson once again. Now let us learn some hard words and the question answers of this unit, children. The first word is Gulliver. Second one, sailing. Third one, consciousness. Fourth one, astonishment. Fifth one, approaching. Sixth one, gratitude. Seventh one, fluttering. Eighth one, carpenter. Ninth one, repetition. 10th one, struggling. Now let us learn the question answers. How do Gulliver landed in Lilliput? Gulliver landed on Lilliput Island due to a shipwreck. Next, what did Gulliver do to help the kingdom of Lilliput? Gulliver tied a hook to the prow of each ship harbored in the Blefuscudian shore and held the other end of the cords in his hand. With one pull, he dragged all the ships to the Lilliputian coast. Third question, why did Gulliver escape from Lilliput? Gulliver disliked the idea of capturing the Blefuscudians. Who helped Gulliver get back to England after his first voyage? The king of Blefuscudians gave Gulliver a boat to help him go back to England. He travelled by an English ship. Next question. Name the island where Gulliver landed on his second voyage. Gulliver landed at Brobdingnag on his second voyage. How did Gulliver end up being a slave of the Queen of Brobdingnag? A giant sold Gulliver to the Queen of the Brobdingnags for 1,000 gold coins. Next question. Where did the Queen keep Gulliver? The Queen kept Gulliver in a box furnished with a small bed, table, chairs, cabinets. Eighth question. Describe how Gulliver managed to get back to his family in England. An eagle carried away the box which had Gulliver and dropped it in the sea. He was then drawn by the crew of an English ship. Now next B part of the unit you have is poem, children. The name of the poem is Donnybrook. Now let us learn the question answers of that poem. Who is referred to as the Silver Queen in the poem? The moon is referred to as the Silver Queen. Second question. Where does the air shine silvery? The air shines silvery between the pearly queen and the silver queen. Next question. Where does the gold glimmer through? The gold glimmered through the hollow blue vault. What is the hollow vault of blue? The sky is the hollow vault of blue. Fifth question. What makes the speaker of the poem realize that God is fair? The gold that glimmered through the hollow vault made the speaker realize that God is fair. What does the speaker do after his sudden realization? The speaker bent the knee and head. He said prayers and went to bed. And these are the question answers of this poem, children. Hope I am clear with these question answers. You can learn them and practice them well.